One.
Right, okay, we're live. So, I don't know who I'm talking to, but right, it's now 3 p.m, just gone. And so I would like to welcome you all to this virtual meeting of Hounslow's licensing panel. I'd like to welcome the members of the panel who are sitting here today, as well as council officers who will be assisting members throughout the meeting. In addition, I would like to welcome members of the public who are watching this meeting at home. As you all may know, until recently, virtual meetings for council businesses were not legal, but as a result of the coronavirus pandemic and its quarantine arrangements required by government, the law has recently changed to let local authorities meet in a virtual way to make decisions. Therefore, this meeting is taking place using the recently introduced government regulations. The way this meeting will work will be that as chair, I will be running the meeting and inviting people to speak. And it's very easy for people to speak over each other in meetings like this. I will be asking each member to speak in turn at an appropriate stage. This means that there should not normally be any need for people to interrupt or ask to speak. However, I shall make sure members have ample opportunity to ask questions, make comments on the reports and applications before them. The exception to this arrangement will be with the legal committee or licensing officer who may turn up on their microphone to alert me to any legal governance or licensing issue that needs addressing, although I would expect this to be rare. In addition, we have a producer of the meeting from our ICT department who may also contact me, but if necessary, but I think it's unlikely if all goes well, as we hope it will. The etiquette for members of the committee and for officers who are expecting to speak will be to mute their microphones until they are asked to speak. This means that only one person will be speaking at a time and there will be no background noise, making it easier for all of us to follow the meeting and also for those watching at home. I'd also ask members and officers always to say who they are when they make a contribution and to speak slowly and clearly for the same reason. We have 3 members of the licensing committee with us today to form this licensing panel, and it is we who will be making the decisions. Officers of the council will provide assistance and advice as required, but the final decisions will be made by members. I would now like for each member here this afternoon to introduce themselves one by one, and I will start with myself. I'm Councillor Richard Foote. I represent Hamworth Ward and I'm chairman of the licensing committee. I will now go to Councillor Richard Eason to introduce himself.
Right, unmuted. I'm Councillor Richard Eason. I represent the Osterley and Spring Grove Ward, and I probably need to declare that I have met one of the applicants, so one of the objectors, Christine Hay, but not discussed this matter, and I believe I can keep an open mind. Okay,
so you haven't discussed anything with her about this case, you're saying, Richard?
No, not at all. I haven't spoken to, I know her through community ties, but I haven't spoken to her in several months. Definitely not about this matter.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Councillor Purival.
Don't on mute.
Yeah, you're off mute, yeah.
Yeah. Councillor Sindhu Purival from Heston Central. I have not met anybody. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And now I'm going to invite the officers to speak and to introduce themselves. Nicola, I'll ask you first.
Hi there, my name's Nicola Harbour. I'm the Licensing Authority Officer.
Right. I'll now ask our legal officer to introduce himself.
Good afternoon, my name is Mr. Baljic Verdi, HP Public Law, legal advisor to the panel.
Thanks, Baljic. Right. Is that all our officers? I don't know who else is. We got no one from the police or Paul Richards attending. Yeah. So apart from the it's just our technical officers other than that, is it?
And there's me, Councillor. I'm
Oh,
hanging
sorry.
about in the background.
Yes. Right. Well, as you're here, Bill, introduce yourself.
I'm Bill. I'm clerk to the panel.
Right.
Democratic Services.
Right. Okay. Right. Can we move on then to the next information? So, right. If you can go back to muting your screen.
Sorry, Councillor, if I could just interrupt there. Could we get confirmation that Ms. Shabanahi is actually able to speak? Because I can't.
Yes, absolutely. I can see four of you, but I just cannot see my picture. So.
Oh, good.
I can see everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you properly.
Yeah, excellent. Just needed to check you were able to see and hear the panel.
So who are we talking about here? Sorry, you've lost me. Was that Saria?
So I'm Nilufar Shabanahi. I'm a corporate M&A solicitor at Bonat Solicitors, acting for the applicant, Maswell Park Line Limited.
Okay, that's clear. So that's what I was wondering. So you are the solicitor acting for the applicant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And are you connected by telephone, or are you connected on the directly into the?
I'm connected by my laptop. We have a Microsoft Teams application. Yeah.
So you have a sight of this wonderful looking panel that we've got in front of us.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope you don't get nightmares. Anyway, so if we can move on to the next stage of the panel. Have we had any notification that the objector is here? Or it's just one objector, isn't it?
Unfortunately, Councillor, the attendee that was watching is now left, so I'm not too sure if the objector is present at this time. Right.
Okay. Well, let's move on, and then when we come to that stage, then we'll see how we go. So anyway, let's move on. As I say, members of the public are reminded that the agenda and all the reports being considered by the panel today can be found on the council website under the licensing panel meetings page. So if you want to see them, that's where to look. I'd also want to make sure that all the members have seen the agenda and reports. So please now speak if you've not had them. I think you all had them yesterday, so yeah, good.
Yes, got them.
Right. I would also now take this point to remind members of the need to hear all of the evidence in the report that we're considering tonight. This means you should listen to the whole debate, and this is a legal requirement. If you're missing at any time, then we have to review whether or not you can take part, or we have to backtrack and get the evidence back up again. If you find that you're having a technical problem and need to log out of the meeting, come back in again. Please let me know immediately, ideally beforehand, but if not, afterwards by turning on your microphone. This would be a permitted interruption. We can then decide how far we need to recap. If that is necessary, or the members need to vote on that, needs to not vote on that item, I would trust that we wouldn't have to go to such a serious situation, as we only got one item on the agenda, but I would like all three members to be taking part in it. Finally, I'd like to say to any member of the public listening or watching, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We hope this meeting will go well, but any virtual meetings may suffer from an unexpected technical hitch. So please bear with us if that proves to be the case. I'd also like to clarify that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on Council's YouTube channel in the next few days. Contributors to the meeting are asked to remember that they will therefore be included in the recording of this public meeting. Thank you. We'll now move on to the first item on the agenda. And that first item, or the only item on the agenda, is for Maswell Park Food and Wine. And I will ask Nicola to read out the application.
Members are requested to determine an application for the grant of a premises licence in respect of Maswell Park Food and Wine Limited, ground floor, 2 Central Avenue, Hounslow, TW3 2QH. The licensable activities applied for are as follows: supply of alcohol for consumption off the premises, Monday to Sunday, 6 to 2300 hours. Opening hours of the premises, Monday to Sunday, 6 to 2300 hours. The application has been properly made and all procedures correctly followed. The application has been attached as Appendix A. The premises are situated in a parade of retail shops in a residential area. The the measures proposed in the application by the applicant are listed in paragraph 4.2 to 4.5 and will be attached as conditions to any licence as may be granted. The appropriate ward councillors and neighbouring wards, local residents and responsible authorities have been consulted. Of those consultees identified in paragraph 6.2, there have been 2 representations from local residents concerned with a possible increase in crime and disorder and public nuisance. The representations in full have been attached as Appendix B. The police and the licensing enforcement officer have agreed conditions as attached in Appendix C. A copy of the report and all representations received have been sent to the applicant.
Right, thank you, Nicola. Can I just check with the applicant's solicitor that that they're okay with that, with the facts that are in that report?
Sorry, you may be on mute. Could you check your microphone, please?
You me? Or no, I'm not. I'm not on mute.
No, sorry, the solicitor chair.
Oh, right.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You're okay with the report?
So the authorities, including the police, had no objections and are satisfied that all the 4 licensing objectives will be fully promoted. And my client accepted all the conditions attached to the license by the police officer. Would you like me to
well, at this stage,
go into a detailed discussion about the objectors' argument? Should we do that later?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
At the moment, I'm just checking that you're okay with the report as read out by the council's officer.
Absolutely, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
that's fine. So what we do now, then we move on. Right, we've had a report from the police and from the licensing authorities representative, and that is in as Appendix C, isn't it? So I trust that you've all seen that, and we will come to discuss that at a later stage. Right, so we don't have any, the police are not here, so they're not going to be asking any questions at this stage. So we move on to there.
Yeah.
The chair, then I'm now going to then invite the members if they have any questions. Sorry, where are we? Yeah. Right, so I'll start off with Richard. Do you have any questions in regard to the?
Sorry, Chair. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
I'm saying it looks like to me. Is that Balvinder?
it's Baljeet.
I'm looking at my notes. They seem to have gone astray. Yeah.
That's not a problem. I think the next stage is to check whether or not any of the objectors are available or wish to phone in to raise any comments. I understood one would be trying to phone in, but I don't know if that person is actually going to phone in. But I don't know if the IT support can confirm the situation or.
So
Can you
at this
confirm?
moment, no one has attempted to call in at this time.
Oh,
yet.
Excuse me. I've just called the objector and it went onto voicemail on the number she gave, unfortunately.
Okay. Well,
I think in the situation, I mean, it's up to the panel and the chair. They can either have a brief adjournment to see whether or not the objector does wish to go in, or perhaps you could let the applicant speak and present, and then present questions, and that way if the objector comes in later, they can still put forward their submissions. But it's my only concern there is that I don't know if the objector is still watching this event, and if so, whether or hear anything for any questions. So if the objector is listening, then you're more than welcome to sort of phone in if you can. But it's up to the panel here to decide whether or not the objector is effectively not in attendance and to proceed or not.
right. Okay. So, I mean, that would be the submissions of other persons. So I think we will follow what you said, I think. Balvinder, yeah. That's where we would be now.
It is. At this moment in time, we would ordinarily invite the objectors to make any comment and ask, so put forward their submission, sorry, and then with questions from the panel or from the applicant to them. However, it does not appear that the objector, only one of whom had stated they were planning to attend, but it does not appear that they have actually dialed in or are making any attempt to dial in or to call in, and therefore the chair and the panel just need to decide whether or not to consider the fact that to determine that they're not here, and so to go in. Notice of this, notice of this this meeting was given to all parties, so they were aware of today's the time and date of today's meeting and the instructions on how to join. So they can only make their decision that despite that they have not joined this meeting and to proceed accordingly, or if the panel wants to, they can adjourn for another 5-10 minutes to give them another chance. But at this moment in time, it does not appear that they are in. I understand from ICT that and from Bill that attempts to contact the objector have not been successful.
So yeah, I'm just going to. I mean, in terms of us, we've got 2 written reports. Are we able to take those into consideration, or are we not in the absence?
If you're talking about the representations from the 2 objectors, then yes, I mean the panel is required to consider those formal representations in respect of this this application that happens, regardless of whether or not they're actually physically in attendance or not.
Okay, so what I will now ask my colleagues, have you both had opportunity to read the objections?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Richard?
Yes, I've read the objections.
And I've read them also. So Baljeet, would it be appropriate then to ask the applicant solicitor if there's any points she wants to make about the written objection?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry.
Yeah. So ordinarily, the objector would make their comment, and then the applicant would be invited to ask their question. So it's up to with the objectors not here, it's up to the applicant's solicitor whether or not they wish to address that now or address that as part of their presentation to the panel. So I don't know if the applicant's solicitor has any comment or preference on how they wish to proceed with that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm happy to comment on each of the objections now, if that's the appropriate time.
Yep, that's fine by me. You okay with that?
Yeah, certainly.
Yep. Yes, then go ahead.
So my client has found out that the first objector, Mr. J. Patel, and his father owns one of the off-license shops called Platinum Food and Wines, which is a nearby shop close to my client's shop. And Mr. J. Patel obviously thinks that if another off-license shop opens up, then the value of his shop or the premium to rent will obviously go down. So that's his main concern, and he's clearly trying to prevent any competition in the area. So that is why he raised this objection. In terms of my client's shop being very close to a primary school, this is not true. There are various other shops which are much closer to the primary school, which is nearby. For example, the Polski product shop, they also sell alcohol. They are right next to the school. There's also another shop called Ashley Cash and Carry, and then Platinum Food and Wines, which is owned by one of the objectors, Mr. J. Patel, as I mentioned. The school is a primary school, so the kids never walk on their own alone, and the parents always have, pick up the kids and have full responsibility and care and full control. And we don't believe that anyone who's of primary school age would want to buy alcohol in a shop. So this is clearly not something that we should worry about. There's also another shop 120 yards from the school called RG Superstore. They also sell alcohol. So we do believe that if my client is not granted the license, then the license should be withdrawn from all of these other shops as well. Because it would be completely unfair and unlawful to refuse the license from my client and then maintain the license for these other shops. It doesn't make any difference if there's another off license in the area, which is not even that close to the primary school, which was actually mentioned by the objectors. There's also a Tesco Superstore less than a mile away. We don't believe that granting a license to my client would make any difference. And as I mentioned before, my client's shop is not that close to the primary school. And all the other shops are much closer. My client has been working closely with the community, with the local community, since the coronavirus lockdown. He always delivers products to the elderly people's houses and helps out as much as he can. He supplies newspapers and magazines every morning to everyone who needs help in these critical times. And he also has experience with operating an off-license shop in the area. So we do believe that all the licensing objectives would be fully promoted, and all the authorities, including the police, were absolutely satisfied that the license should be granted, and my client accepted all of the conditions imposed by the police. Also, Miss Christine Hay, the second objector, mentioned that the shop has a limited range. This is absolutely not true and incorrect. My client supplies and stocks a wide range of groceries, stationery, parcel services, Oyster cards, bus passes, and although he's a news agent, but he does basically sell a wide variety of products. So Miss Christine Hay's argument about my client's shop selling just a very limited range of products is completely untrue, and she's incorrect in saying that. And as I said before, if my client is refused to be granted the license, then all the other shops' license should be withdrawn, because those shops are even much closer to the primary school than my client. So
Is that you finished with the questions there, or the comments about the two objectors? Yeah,
yes. So these are all of our comments. Yeah.
Chair.
Thank you.
Can I just make one comment? Just a correction. You made a comment about that you wouldn't think primary school children would be in the shop buying. I think it's a bit round the other way. It's illegal to sell to primary school children. So, you know, the responsibilities are the licensee's responsibility in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, we would obviously endorse the proof of age policy. That's no question. So I did not mean to say that, you know, we would serve alcohol or sell alcohol to 5 or 10-year-old kids. That's not what I was meant to say.
Okay, I just wanted to clear it up because that's the way it came over. Right, okay.
Well,
Chair?
all the kids are actually walked home by their parents or carers. So if it was a secondary school, I think it would make a difference, but it's a primary school, and I think you understand my point.
Yeah, right. Have you finished making your points about the objectors?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Sorry, Richard, you're trying to get in there.
Yes, yeah, I believe that one of the objectors, Christine Hay, has just joined by mobile phone. There's a phone number now.
Well, hold on, yeah. Well, that's for our technical people to deal with.
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that a mobile phone number ending in 434 has now joined the call, and I believe that is Mrs. Hay.
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that is Mrs. Hay.
So is Mrs. Hay in contact with us? Has she got a phone? Is she hearing us, and are we able to hear her?
I'll try. Can you hear me?
I can hear somebody. I don't know who it is.
Right, I'm Christine Hay. Sorry, I've spent 40 minutes trying to make connection. I can hear you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, can I don't know how much of this you've heard of the report so far.
Nothing, nothing.
Right, okay. Well, I'll update you.
Thank you.
Because we were not sure of what the situation was regarding the objectors, we decided to take the written reports of the objectors to at least make sure they were presented to the committee. The applicant's solicitor has answered those or spoken to those objections. Beljeet, I think we're fully okay if we open up this to let Ms. Hay come in on this, yeah?
Yes, Chair. I think she's joined the the meeting now, so I think it's only right that now that she has been able to come in, it's somewhat analogous to if she had come in physically late to a physical meeting. It'd be up to the panel on how they wish to decide. So, as you say, if the panel and the chair wish to let her speak and put forward her submissions in support of her written submissions, then they can do so.
Okay, thanks, Beljeet. Okay, Mrs. Hay, are you okay with that? If you want to,
I am. Thank you very much.
Objections.
Right. Well, most of it's written down, as you will have seen. Just to confirm, I've been a resident within a few hundred yards of the shop for over 30 years, and I'm a regular customer. My concerns are, as you've seen, that it is very near the primary school, and although children obviously won't be trying to buy, they'll be coming in with their parents, and it is always very, very full at coming out time. And if there are people buying drink at the same time, that could cause problems, particularly on the green immediately opposite, where we have had problems of drinkers on the green. And although it is now prohibited to drink on the green, there are still some drinkers, and with an even nearer off license, that could cause more problems. There are already 3 licensed premises in what is a very small parade of shops in a residential area. And it's not like it's a big shopping centre or have lots of places of work. It's residential houses with the school and this small parade of shops, which already has 3 licensed premises. I think that's probably covered everything I needed to say.
Thank you.
And Ms. Hay, are you not concerned that there are 3 or 4 other off-license shops which are much closer to the primary school than my client's shop?
No,
so
two are not.
Sorry, license should be withdrawn from. Don't you think that license should be?
Speak through the chair, please, and wait until I ask you. I would prefer you jump in without invitation. It's difficult to control it as the meeting in this format. It's not like an open meeting where we can go and wrap people across the knuckles with the ruler or something. So we have to use a verbal type. But right, I was just about to ask, and I'm sorry, I didn't write down your name, the solicitor, the applicant, but would you like to ask questions of the objector at this point?
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, there are a few other shops, off-license shops, which are much closer to the primary school than my client's shop. So I think if my client is not granted the license, then you should withdraw the license from all of these shops as well.
Can I ask you what your question is?
To the objector.
So my question is, are you not concerned that there are a lot of other off-license shops in the area, and don't you think that their license should be withdrawn as well?
May I answer?
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering who the question's aimed at.
It's the objector.
Because I mean, you sounded like you were aiming it at the council, and we're not here to consider the other shops' licenses today. If that came about at some stage in the future, that may be the case, but at this moment we're not.
Sorry, on a point of, sorry, may I just make a correction? Yeah. Only one of the shops. It's Christine Hay.
Yeah, if you could say your name each time you speak.
Sorry,
it's very
my apologies.
difficult.
Yes, Christine Hay. Only one of the 3 shops is nearer the school. 2 are several shops further away. And obviously we're not discussing those shops. My concern is that adding a 4th licensed premises will add to problems that are already there. Potentially more, because the newsagent is a shop that attracts far more children than the convenience stores do?
My client's
you.
shop is actually not a news agent. As I said before, my client sells a wide range of groceries, stationery, parcel services, oyster card, box taxes. So it's not a news agent shop. I think it's a misunderstanding on your side.
Can I say to you, this is not a
May I
debate.
answer?
This is not a debate between the lawyer for the applicant and the objectors. This is a point where the objector has made her point clear, and it is up to the solicitor for the applicant to ask any questions of the objector. So that's where we're at. So I'm not going to allow this to degenerate into a debate between the solicitor and or the legal representative and the objector. It's a question that I'm asking you. If you haven't got a question, that's fine. We'll move on.
I don't have more questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, you asking questions of the objector?
Yes, I have a question for Christine. It's Richard Easton here, Christine.
Right.
Just, yeah, I agree with you about the proximity to the school. I'm looking at Google Maps at the same time. So I concur that there's only the Polish shop between this premises, license between this premises and the school. In terms of you're a customer of this shop, has there been a change of ownership, a change of business proposition over the last 12 months?
Yes, just before lockdown, the premises changed hands. As I was in lockdown for most of the last 2 months, I have only walked past it and not been inside. It is clearly, if you go inside, it's clearly mainly selling news agency type things, stationery, obviously newspapers and magazines, very little grocery, but some. A lot of sweets, crisps, drinks and ice creams, which the children are very keen to have and obviously very popular. The name on the fascia outside is Maswell Park Newsagents. There are newspaper advertisements in the windows. I mean, it is like any other newsagents. Now, obviously, I don't know if there are plans to change it from a newsagent to be a fourth convenience store. That I wouldn't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Have you any questions, Councillor Puravel?
No, I have no objection for the objector. No.
Okay. Right. I'm now going to try and get ourselves into an order again. So it's now up to the applicant to actually introduce the application. I think, you know, it sounds a bit like, I think a lot of it was said prior to the objector coming in, but I think we should go over that again just to clarify matters. So I call upon the legal advisor to the applicant to make any points they want to about the application.
So the applicant is Maswell Park Food and Wine Limited. It's a small shop selling groceries, newspapers, magazines, stationery, bus passes, as I mentioned. Opening hours are between 6 a.m. 11 p.m. So alcohol will be sold for consumption away from the premises. The DPS has previous experience of operating similar off-license shops. My client will operate CCTV during the opening hours of the shop. All CCTV recordings shall be stored for a minimum period of 31 days, and all recordings will be stamped with the correct date and time. So viewing of the recordings shall be made available subject to data protection legislation upon request of the police or any council officer. There will also be an incident logbook in place at the premises. All the staff responsible for selling alcohol receive regular training pursuant to the Licensing Act 2003. Any written records of this training will be retained and made available to the police and the council officers on request.
Can I
25. Yes.
Yeah, could I help you out here? I mean, what you're talking about is the agreement between Paul Richards and the police and your client. That's those conditions that are shown on page 20 of the report. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have visibility of the report, so.
Well, what I'm saying is, are you conversant with the items that were agreed between your client and the police?
Yes, I mean, I was copied into an email where my client accepted all of the conditions.
Okay,
so
that's the question.
So the premises, yeah. So the premises will not sell any beer, lager, cider that is equal or greater than 6% ABV.
Yeah.
This does not include specialty products from craft or microbreweries, limited edition. No sales of single cans of beer, lager, or cider. No sales of spirits under 200 milliliter in quantity. I think this is very, very important, and my client was happy with that. So staff responsible for selling alcohol fully trained. We discussed that. Notices will be prominently displayed in the premises, requesting customers to leave quietly and respect the residential nature of the area. Staff will regularly supervise the pavement area outside the premises to ensure the customers are not blocking pavements or causing any nuisance to neighboring premises. All litter will be removed. So all goods, including that subject to duty payments, alcohol, tobacco products, will be brought from cash and carries, with invoices being available upon request. Would you like me to just read out all of the conditions?
No, I'm fine with that. I think that no, all we really need to know is if your client has accepted all of those in full, and
absolutely,
then they will be added to the license if and when it's issued. So those will be. So, but I don't know. There might be some questions coming up from my colleagues in regards to those. But yes, I acknowledge that they've been agreed between your client and PC Pello and Paul Richards.
Yeah, so my client accepted each of the conditions on 7th of June by email.
Okay.
He replied to Richards.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got a copy of that letter. Yeah. Right. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I switch to the members to questions now? I'll go with you first, Councillor Purivel, and then to Richard.
There's one condition that there has to be a personal license holder has to have a significant experience. Can the solicitor tell us how much experience he has?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know that he has years of experience operating a very similar off-license shop in London. I'm not exactly sure how many years, but a few years. And he's also a licensed DPS, so he passed the exam and he's done this before. It's not his first, it wouldn't be the first time for him to operate similar shop.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is that even though the conditions have been accepted, but the licensing application, the hours were from 6 o'clock in the morning to late, but the hours have been agreed for later on. Are the new hours been accepted fully?
The new 10.
Yeah, absolutely accepted by my client, everything, yeah.
Thank you.
Richard.
My colleague has sort of beaten me to it a bit. So just confirming that the licensing hours agreed are to 10 p.m. rather than 11 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't start at 6 a.m. either.
No start.
Start at 10. Yeah, so 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And then the in terms of the licensees or the DPS's past experience, was that in Hounslow, or was it anywhere we would know, or was it elsewhere in London?
Probably in Hounslow, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
He said to me he has experience of operating the same shop nearby in the area, but I'm not sure exactly where it was nearby.
I think his personal license was issued by Hounslow, if I remember right. So
yeah,
somewhere in the pack.
And he never ever had any issues. So he always made sure that all the licensing objectives would be promoted.
Yeah, and the personal license holder is a director and shareholder of the company Maswell Park Food and Wine Limited.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So which was incorporated in November last year, according to my research.
That's right.
His personal license referred to on page 12 of the pack was issued by Hounslow. So license H 00300. So
yeah, that's part and parcel of the report. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I would expect that if there was anything in the past of concern, that would have been flagged up by our officers whilst reviewing the application. So and then in terms of the concern raised by the objectors about drinking on the green, my reading of the conditions is that the conditions about restricting not selling anything over 6% ABV and not selling single cans of beer, lager and cider are directly aimed at preventing street drinking.
Yes.
So, or discouraging street drinking.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah. So I'd hope that would be effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then, Richard. I've got a couple of questions. Certainly the one, the three things there about the not selling beer, lager or cider greater than 6%. The cans, single cans, and the bottles are directly aimed at discouraging street drinking. Now we also recognise, however, that the owner of the shop has responsibility for the immediate area outside their shop, but that is limited. We can't expect them to be responsible for something down the road away from them. So we accept that, but in there, the green, I presume, is opposite there. Can I just go through these questions? because that moves on to the next one where it says staff shall regularly supervise the pavement area outside the premises to ensure customers not blocking pavements or causing a nuisance. Again, that is also, we would expect immediately outside the shop that there would be efforts taken to discourage street drinkers there.
Yeah, so and also the staff and my client would be happy to supervise the green area in front of the shop.
We're not asking them to police the whole of West Hounslow, but but take some responsibility about the immediate surrounds.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can I ask against that? Unfortunately, in the drawing that was provided, it does not show the location of CCTV cameras. As far as I can see, and normally, you know, we would see a number of them in vulnerable areas where there is alcohol, and we would also have it opposite the door so that a full facial view could be seen as people come into the premises. We have also asked in the past that there should be a relatively high level camera outside the premises that looks at the pavement immediately outside. So if there is any build up in any problems, then there is a capture of that outside. So it needs to be relatively high level to enable people to come look down on it.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So the drawings were prepared by my client, and obviously he's not an expert. So that is why.
Do we know how many CCTV cameras are on the premises or expected to be on the premises?
We will put the CCTV cameras wherever the council officers would like us to. So
okay. So if Paul Richards then comes and sees your client, then they will be able to get an agreement of where to place the cameras.
Exactly, yes.
Because I'm a bit concerned that, you know, again, because I don't know, there's a fridge for beer and there. I remember seeing somewhere in the notes that outside of the hours of licensed hours, that those will be locked up. So is that would be a fridge that would be lockable, would it?
I mean, I unfortunately I've never been to the shop in person. So, but you know, you can always impose a condition.
Well, it did say in the conditions that somewhere in here I saw that during the hours outside of the licensing hours, that the alcohol would be secured or secured away in some form. So I'm assuming that, because that's a bit on its own. The other thing is there's nowhere in here that says where the wine is being stored. I assume that is selling wine, but we have fridge for a beer, but we got nothing for wine. Space for spirits. Which is
so my client just texted me to say there are 8 cameras inside and 2 cameras outside.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. 8 inside would, for that size shop, I would think would be suitable. Obviously, you've got security in terms of there needs to be some showing again where the till is to make sure that you know there's security for the staff. But in addition to that, to make sure that access to stuff is not available to people, or certainly for juveniles.
And also the fridge is lockable.
Yeah. Okay, I've got that.
That's good.
That's good. Let me see. I've got some other questions.
So we do believe that having these conditions in place, there wouldn't be any crime or nuisance or harm to children in the area. and the license should be granted.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
So we are confident that with having these conditions imposed and also having in place all of the measures that we listed in our application in terms of promoting all the licensing objectives, the license should be granted.
You're jumping the gun a little bit.
We'll decide that.
It's not up to me to decide. It is up to myself and my two colleagues, and we will decide right at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we're asking questions. My colleagues have asked questions. I'm in the midst of asking some questions in regards to the report and things that maybe weren't totally clear in everything. And I've now, because I skipped back to the map, I've lost my
another comment from my client. He just texted me. It's a bit unfortunate that he just couldn't participate at the meeting in person, but he just texted me to say the wine and beers are in the GHD fridge, and also at the back of the teal area there's a wine shelf.
Okay, and they will be secured outside of licensed hours.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Right. Right now, I've got to get back to my original notes somewhere. Right. Now I'm back in there.
And also another comment from my client. He has 20 years plus experience working in retail management.
Okay. I think the question was, did he have that? How many years in licensing management?
Yes, and he has various years, several years of experience operating a off-license shop in the area.
You haven't said anything,
or in Hounslow or somewhere else.
Yeah, you haven't said anything in your report back about the Challenge 25 proof of age scheme, and your client is familiar with that the requirement that anybody who appears to be of an age below 25 will have to will be challenged and will have to show proper documents.
Yeah, so if you look at section M of our application, protection of children from harm, a Challenge 25 proof of age scheme shall operate at the premises. All the staff authorized to sell alcohol, fully trained in the Challenge 25 scheme, and the training is documented. So, yes.
Okay. Right. Yep, that's all my questions. Surinder or Richard, do you have any further questions?
No, fine.
Okay.
Excuse me, just another comment from my client coming in a text message. So everywhere where he worked during these 20 years, he always sold alcohol. So we can say that he has 20 years plus experience.
Okay.
Selling alcohol.
Right. Okay. So I'll now move on to the objector. Do you have any questions of the applicant or through his solicitor anyway?
Christine, hey, no, I don't think there's anything else that I can ask. Thank you.
Okay, that's as long as I'll make sure you got the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the summing up. So there's only really the two parties. So Christine, do you wish to sum up? The summing up will be just that. It will not be introduction of any new comments or business, but if you would like to sum up at this stage.
Right. Well, I think all I would say is that given the residential area and the nearness of the school and the fact that there are already other licensed premises, I still feel that it would not be a good idea to have another one when we have had so many problems on the green, and a potential with being a shop where a lot of children go into, where there could be people and not in the best state of health through drinking in the shop as well. So I think that's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Right, can I go to the applicant and ask yourself, would you like to sum up? And as I say, please don't introduce new material, but if you could sum up, that would be useful.
So, as I said, there are various other shops much closer to the primary school. For example, Polski Product, Ashley Cash and Carry, Platinum Food and Wines, and RG Superstore. So all of these shops present a much higher risk of crime or nuisance in terms of public safety or harm to children coming home from primary school. And also, my client would make sure that the green area would be supervised properly, and we would have CCTVs in place. And all the primary school kids are walking home with carers or parents, and there wouldn't be any harm to kids if the license was granted. And as I said before, we do believe that if the license is refused, then all of the licenses should be withdrawn from all the other shops which are close proximity of the school.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Baljeet, are you there?
I am, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to clarify the procedure for making a decision, to run through that so as everybody's aware?
Of course. So what will happen now is that the meeting will be briefly adjourned for, I'd suggest 15 minutes, so that the panel can and I can go ahead and discuss the application and decide what decision they wish to make. In terms of the options open to the panel, these are to grant the application in full and on the terms and conditions contained within the application, to include any applicable mandatory conditions, to grant the application as stated, modified to such an extent as considered appropriate to satisfy any relevant representations and promote the licensing objectives, or to reject the application in whole or part. So we will, the panel and I will presently adjourn this meeting. They will leave this meeting. I would advise everyone else to remain on this meeting so that the panel can go away and consider its decision for this application. Like I said, for approximately 15 minutes. I would use the if you're watching on a laptop device, that's probably the easiest. You just use the computer clock in the bottom right hand corner to go away. If the panel thinks it's going to take longer, then we'll try to get a message back to this meeting. But the panel and I will go away to a private discussion area to discuss what decision they wish to make, and then rejoin this meeting. Like I said, I would suggest in 15 minutes, unless the chair or the rest of the panel have any other ideas or timings that they would prefer.
I think we'll yeah, we will go for 15 minutes, and if there is any reason that we need to extend that, then we will contact our technical people, who will then post that on the screen saying that there is a longer period.
Okay, well, in that case, I've got
I've got-
16:08 on my computer, so 15 minutes. Shall we say 16:25? Round it up to a round number. If the chair is happy with that, then if the chair would like to formally adjourn the meeting.
Okay, so we're formally adjourned. So Surinder and Richard, you need now to log on, to go back into your main sheets and log on to the private one. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. No, sorry, we've got to log out, haven't we? Yeah.
Good.
Log out from here.
Yes.
And then come back in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Gee,
you.
we've got to log out from this screen.
Okay.
Not hearing me. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we hang up there.
Sorry, Councillor Foote, you're on mute.
Yeah. I've unmuted my mic.
I'm back.
So that's Belvitner, is it? Yeah.
It's Baljeet, yes. Chair, it's Baljeet right here.
Baljeet, yeah.
It's okay. I think we're still waiting for Councillor Perwell to join.
Okay.
I have attempted to raise Councillor Perwell on the phone. I've been unable to get a reply, I'm afraid.
Well, he joined us in the meeting.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, he was there. We had the full group in the.
Oh, excellent. I'll stop panicking.
Chair,
we're waiting for him to come back to us here.
Chair, it's Baljeet Verdi again. Just to let you know, it appears as well that the solicitor for the applicant is also currently out of the meeting. So that's another person that I can try to invite back in, if you would like me to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that now. Oh.
Hi.
Who's that?
Niloufar, can you hear me? Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I think Baljeet was just trying to contact you.
Yeah, I think this is Baljeet, but I think we just crossed paths there. So I think I tried to call you just as you joined. We've got to the panel. We're just waiting for Councillor Perwell to join us.
Oh, Adrian's with us, is he?
I was just invited in.
You just done what? Sorry, is that Bill?
No, it's Adrian. I was just invited in.
Yeah, Adrian, this is Baljeet Bird here. I think I may have done that. I think when I hit the click to invite, some of the names moved up and down the list, and so instead of clicking the name I did, yours shunted up and you got invited. So you can leave the meeting if you wish.
We have that. Yeah, we're just waiting on one other member to join us.
Right. Okay, I'll leave you to it.
Okay. No. Let me see. Who's on that phone one? Who's that? That's 434. Is that
That's Mrs. Hay, Councillor.
Yes, Christine Hay.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Sorry. Usually we've got numbers on there, but we just got a little blue blob on the screen.
Right.
Right, let me see if I can get hold of Surinder, and then we can see if we can get ourselves together. If not, he'll have to agree that we're talking for him.
After the tone,
No.
and when you're done, press hash or just hang up.
Not having any of that there. Oh, is anybody? So are you able to make contact?
I've tried dialing him on Teams again, Chair, and he's not. It's calling, but he's not accepting.
Okay.
So it appears that he's online, but whether he's getting the call, I'm not too sure.
Sign I've got here that says calling. Is that somebody calling out from here? Is that what you're doing? I've got a sign on my screen that says calling down in the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, I'm attempting to call.
Right, that's gonna be you. Okay, look, I'm rather I'm rather tempted to move on with this.
Yes, Chair, it's Baljeet Verdi here. I mean, as I understand it, the panel has made its decision. So really, it's just about the delivery of that decision. There's two of you here, so it is quorate. and I can confirm that, well, the chair would perhaps, let's just assume that he isn't able to come in. If the chair could confirm that Councillor Purewal was involved in the discussions and that the decision has been reached and agreed, and I can confirm that with 2 members present, that is sufficient for a quorum for the meeting to continue.
Yeah. So for the purposes of both the objector and the legal representative of the applicant, yes, all 3 members of the panel were present throughout the discussion. Eventually, we got them all together, but we didn't start the discussion until we were all together. So all 3 members have taken part in it, and we have reached a decision, which is the decision of the panel, and that is what we will relay to you now. I think no point in wasting any longer time waiting for Councillor Purewal coming and joining us at this stage. So basically the situation is that we have considered the application, we have considered the objections, both verbal and written, and we are of the opinion that we will grant the licence application subject to the items that are recorded in Appendix C. Is it Appendix C? Yeah, Appendix C, which are the items that were added by the police and Paul Richards. So that is the decision of the panel. The decision will come out in writing in full within 5 working days. But you know, there's no point hanging around waiting for any more on there. So that's the situation. It's only up to me now to thank everybody for your attendance and thank the officers for your assistance in letting us struggle through with this. Without you, we wouldn't manage it. So thank you all, and hope you have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
You too. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you hang on, Richard, and